brilliant beyond anything imagined hitherto was the role played by the 1st Airborne Army in the greatest of all victories achieved in the West. 1,300 gliders carried the amazing variety of equipment of mechanized war to the east bank of the Rhine. The march of events quickened, took on the speed of flight, and finally dazed the imagination of free men throughout the world. The Airborne Army was on its mettle, bent on delivering a masterstroke, privately determined to avenge the partial defeat of Arnhem. For the third testing time in this war, there was complete faith in the motorless craft. Tug pilots and glider men were fully briefed. Air Marshal Conyngham, noting the weather report, had said, "Let's go." It was a naval occasion too. Over to Antwerp and other ports went great numbers of landing craft specially selected for the task of crossing the Rhine. Gigantic craft, some of them, yet having to make the last stage of the journey by road. Nothing was left to chance in this assault of the Rhine. In a war to whose mass and variety of material we've grown accustomed, here was effort on a scale staggering indeed. Winston Churchill, with Eisenhower, Montgomery, and Allenbrook, sees the drama unfold itself on the west bank of the historic river. British troops were going over the Rhine. They went with every safeguard conceivable. RAF medium bombers of the 2nd Tactical Air Force crippled the enemy ahead of 0 hour. Bombs were spent lavishly, that in the Allied armies life should be saved. Vast areas behind the German front were blasted into chaos. It wasn't only the Tactical Air Force. Bomber Command surpassed its previous achievements. There could be no greater praise. The devastating night attack on Würzburg in Bavaria is a case in point. As a rail junction with Frankfurt and Nuremberg, it was choked with supplies. Under cover of that deafening barrage, troops of the 21st Army Group, Montgomery's men, went over the river. The men who planned this operation saw it go according to their calculations. On this side of the river, the hard crust of the German army had been cracked. Beyond the crust, believed the Allied leaders, there would be little or nothing. Only a fortnight before, Churchill had said that one good heave would see it over. This was the heave. Rocket-firing typhoons pinpointed troublesome batteries, divisional headquarters, anything that was being a nuisance. He would not be Winston Churchill if he hadn't crossed the river himself at the first opportunity. He and the army leaders must have thought of the days when all the world outside the British Commonwealth believed Britain could not escape defeat. Now it is the Germans who must blow their bridges. This one at Wesel was under fire, but the ever-youthful Prime Minister wanted to have a look. Already the airborne army was striking its blow. Dakota troop carrier aircraft headed for the assigned landing fields. Dead on the minute, the first paratroops made a mass jump. Warfare as the Russians conceived it, as Germans first used it, here reaching perfection. One damaged Dakota made a crash landing. Now came the most enthralling spectacle of all. The head of the 250-mile glider train was going over the Rhine. The German Air Force, beaten out of the sky, could do nothing. Anti-aircraft fire, and not much of that, was all the defense the enemy could put up. Tow ropes were cast off and the great gliders planed down. Not all made safe landings, but the great majority did. In the breathtaking sweep of subsequent events, the Rhine crossing recedes from the forefront of the mind. But it was here that the triumph was made certain. Here that the fighting men gave the one big heave. Here that they justified the all-conquering faith of the architects of victory over Germany.